Before starting, I want to especially thank Felipe Silva Cortez, Moises Leonhardt, and Misaela Yala Mendoza for acquiring their membership. World's finest. And thanks to all the channel members for supporting my small projects. This story begins tragically after a bomb planted in Metropolis destroyed the city and killed millions of innocents. The incredulous gaze of the rest of the world reflects only terror at what has happened. What kind of deranged psychopath had been capable of carrying out such an attack simply for fun? Joker was being interrogated before the abrupt appearance of Superman. He is furious at having been used by this damn man, causing the death of Lois Lane and the child they were both expecting with his own hands. Knowing that nothing will bring them back and that Joker will never stop taking innocent souls, Kal-El of Krypton ends up crossing a line from which he would never return. This is how this story begins, this time on the Negayo channel, the first part of the Injustice story, Gods Among Us. Somewhere else in the multiverse, the Justice League is fiercely fighting against several of their worst enemies. Both on Earth and in the Watchtower and even in Arkham Asylum, evil threatens to overthrow the forces of good. Batman defeats Deathstroke before heading to the satellite headquarters. Luthor and part of his Injustice League were here, although they are defeated and detained. In a matter of moments, the real threat was still at large. Luthor had provided a nuclear bomb to Joker and Harley Quinn. The purpose was none other than to destroy the city of Metropolis, just so Lex could take advantage of this as a hero in the future. An alarm code informs each member of the League the coordinates to stop this catastrophe. While Batman was trying to distract him and his companions were quickly approaching, something strange happens. From one moment to another, our surroundings change dramatically. Apparently, we are still in the city of Metropolis, but it's not the same as a few moments ago. While Joker fails in his pathetic attempt to murder Batman, an official command appears deploying their weapons against both. Despite his unexpected presence, the Bat escapes in plain sight, leaving the clown in the hands of the authorities. Observing from above, the questions remain. Why, damn? They are also looking for the Gotham Knight. Hal, Diana, Arthur, and Oliver remain together in this parallel Earth, in search of answers and a power battery for his ring. Green Lantern distances himself from the group on the way to Coast City, while Aquaman decides to look for information in Atlantis. When Hal arrives at Ferry Industries, the distant screams of Slade Wilson can be heard, being tortured by none other than Raven and Cyborg. Although Hal intervenes and is forced to fight at a disadvantage against both, victory favors Jordan. On this occasion, Slade is hostile despite having been rescued and does not give enough details about what is happening around him. Either way, Green Lantern is alerted about the presence of Sinister in Metropolis. Our heroes are taken down in the attempt to neutralize him, and upon the arrival of Hal Jordan, this villain is finally contained. However, we can notice that he was not alone. Another version of Jordan appears on the scene, although this double is part of the Sinestro Corps.
So you abandoned the green and switched to yellow, the color of cowardice.
Green Lantern wins once again and leaves with his companions before the arrival of the police. As they turn the corner, it seems that after all, they will get the answers they are looking for. Once safe, this alternate Batman informs them of what happened 5 years ago in this world. How was Joker able to trick the Man of Steel into killing his own pregnant wife? Lois's heartbeat was synced to a bomb planted in the center of Metropolis. So when her heart stopped, a catastrophic explosion blinded millions of lives in a matter of seconds. From then on, measures to prevent a similar event became increasingly severe. The Justice League's intervention in the world was crossing boundaries that not everyone was willing to break. Did some heroes follow Superman's path because they believed it was the right thing to do, or simply out of fear? And those who had the courage to maintain their ideals were killed, and others simply gave up. Over the years, the regime became increasingly strict and even criminals became part of this tyranny. In this world, Batman became the face of the insurgency. Arthur had successfully infiltrated his palace. Here he learns in detail all the events that have brought to Earth. Up to this point, Atlantis had stayed out of the events on the surface, but the Kryptonian was insistent on forming an agreement with the king. Shazam and Flesh were sent to consolidate a deal, but upon studying the terms, Arthur shows more than dissatisfaction. This is subjugation. Will Superman rule Atlantis?
We have our orders, dude.
Mighty King of the Depths does not hold back in using his strength, victory. He struggles to be found by the real Arthur Curry on this earth, who without hesitation orders the arrest of the imposter. By showing resistance, a clash of kings was inevitable. Our Aquaman can win this encounter. And before having to also fight against the guards, the god of war appears within the palace. Being a formidable enemy, Arthur acts hostile towards his presence. However, Ares claims he only seeks to help destroy Superman's regime. And the fact is, with no more conflict on Earth, he has practically been left powerless. Is sent to the insurgents' base, where his companions were. The situation is quite clear at this point, although it's still complicated to get used to this land.
Of your light, I never wanted to break the law.
Both Batman and Lex Luthor had been responsible for transporting this part of the League to this world in the hope of defeating Superman and his allies. A special pill that enhances human capabilities in terms of strength and endurance, and a kryptonite weapon. They can change the fate of this reality very soon. Of course, if they are not killed by Kal-El first. After his arrest and escape, as he usually does, Joker is surprised by our Batman while looking for his men. The clown manages to take advantage of a bat injury and before finishing him off, decides to leave upon noticing the arrival of Hal and Girl at the con. The vigilante is brought before Superman, while Joker is found by this Earth's Harley.
Harleen.
Okay, this Earth's Harleen Quinzel. Although it's hard to believe at first, Quinzel recognizes this Joker as such and ends up taking him to her followers' hideout. Once in Arkham and with a bunch of psychopaths at his disposal, the Clown Prince proposes to become a real problem for the regime and the insurgents.
Isn't it beautiful?
The emotional speech is interrupted by Superman's followers, the asylum is enveloped in chaos, and Harleen contacts Batman for support. The Dark Knight arrives shortly after with the team that traveled to this land. The regime is forced to flee. And it is then that we realize that Batman and Harleen had been collaborating for some time. Thanks to Joker, they now know that the Batman from their land is a prisoner of their enemies. By the way, since the sudden disappearance of this part of the Justice League, both Flash, Cyborg, and Superman have been working tirelessly to bring their teammates back. Upon discovering that they have been taken to a parallel Earth, after much work, it seems they are close to achieving their rescue. Back in the other world, the team organizes to enter the Wayne mansion in search of the weapon. Upon splitting up, the Green Arrow team was already being awaited by Solomon Grundy and Killer Frost, two well-known villains who are now also part of the regime. The battle takes place in Bruce's old home. Our heroes manage to win this time, but upon reuniting, they continue their journey before Superman comes looking for them. Meanwhile, this tyrant had obtained data from the imprisoned Batman in order to create a scanner to detect visitors. Imposters. Leaving this in charge to his best friend Lex Luthor, we already knew that Lex was secretly conspiring against Superman. In fact, he had managed to convince Slade Wilson to join the insurgents, taking advantage of his grudges against Raven and Cyborg.
After so many refusals, why now?
Good thing, personal.
The kryptonite weapon hidden in the Batcave could only be unlocked with the DNA of the Justice League members. However, since the Green Arrow of this reality was killed and the others were on Kal-El's side, was it necessary to bring these counterparts by sharing the same genetic code? In other words, Batman created a security system that not even he could break. Although they get what they were looking for, not everything could be that easy. Black Adam and the toxic Wonder Woman appear with no intentions of holding back to comply with the orders of the evil Superman. The balance tips in favor of the good guys. They managed to defend their lives, but the mission seemed to have been ruined after the weapon was damaged. Right at this moment, on parallel Earth, Cyborg was turning on the transporter for the first time to bring his companions back. However, even though things were going well, a small glitch ends up dragging Victor into the other reality. Coincidentally, he appears in a secret base where Lex was talking with Wilson about defeating Superman. Without thinking twice, the robotic titan tries to stop them both. Victor believes that they are the villains and they believe that he is the villain. And it's not until Batman's team also reaches this point that they let Cyborg know what's really happening. Kal-El had come to the cave looking for the reason why his old friend had risked so much. The answer seems obvious, with the remnants of kryptonite scattered around the scene. This Superman is forced to take drastic measures by publicly announcing the execution of Batman on Stryker Island. And even though the Insurgency team knows it's all part of a trap, they can't let their comrade die. Wilson and Stone successfully infiltrate the island at least for a few moments, and it's that Cyborg is discovered by Selina's charms. After a short fight, Victor manages to defeat her, although the real problem ends up being himself. Continuing with the operation, Deathstroke takes his own course, venturing inside the watchtower. At that moment, we heard Shazam and Flash talking about Superman's plans, trusting that he really wouldn't be capable of killing Batman. Prisoner.
Do you remember what he did to Green Arrow?
Slade manages to provoke both of them into falling into his traps. With the hero stunned, he sneaks to the satellite's reactor, programming it to explode in a few minutes. Lex communicates with both of them to request that they find a prototype weapon for him, something he would use with kryptonite to defeat Superman. I must do it.
Batman is the face of the Insurgency. If he dies, the Insurgency dies too.
Both insurgents and the regime's side are taking positions. Before Batman's execution on the island, Stryker Killer Frost had been investigating the source that brought the imposters to this land, although, in Deathstroke's words, this information was no longer worth anything.
Good detective work, but you're late.
Killer Frost is defeated, and even Wonder Woman falls in the attempt to stop Slade Wilson. Deathstroke manages to get to the weapon Luthor was looking for. And that's when the assault on Stryker's Island begins. While Arthur takes care of distracting the front, Batman and Arrow infiltrate to reach the prisoner. Along the way, they are found by Catwoman and also by her companion, who lunges directly at Oliver. Selina lets us know that she actually joined Superman to give him false information, and that all she is looking for is to protect Bruce so they can be together. Either way, Batman would not leave the city to its fate to hide and be safe with her. Well, he wouldn't do it twice. And not being the answer she wanted, Catwoman is forced to fight against the Bat to maintain her role within the regime. The battle on the island front continues, giving enough time for Batman and Green Arrow to defeat their opponents. Did he take you in and train you?
I'm not Ted Grayson. He is Damian Wayne, the son. Superman has been more of a father to me than you. You stopped being my son when you killed Dick Grayson, my true son.
Even though they manage to reach Bruce and free him, Raven shows up manipulating Oliver to attack them. One of the Batmen can knock her out, but the operation still grows more complicated. Jordan is ready to finish off the leader of the Insurgency, while the latter confronts him so his companions can escape. After a small fight, the Bat proclaims himself victorious.
Superman is the enemy, Hal, not me.
During this fight, another couple of events happen in Arkham and Metropolis. In the asylum, Harley Quinn was fooled by Joker's words and ended up freeing him. And on the other hand, Lex Luthor is finally ready to rebel against Superman's tyranny. At some point, the three of them find themselves starting a fight just for the clown's whim, wanting this armor. When Harley fails in her attempt, this madman tried to kill her, and her life was saved by Luthor. After so many lies and deceptions, she finally realizes that she can't continue under the orders of a madman. Okay, but this one at least fights for the good. The leader of the regime is in the midst of a battle against the impostors. However, by rising high enough, he can notice that it was all just a distraction. Superman blocks the path of the Bats and Oliver, and even though he had them right in the palm of his hands, and this could have been the end of the resistance, he didn't count on Cyborg's intervention in his escape, knowing that the Watchtower was being intervened. The Man of Steel heads at full speed into space, only to encounter a strong explosion that sends him back to the planet. Luthor had managed to defeat Hawk and release Shazam, damaging his armor in the process. Noticing the explosion of the watchtower, he knows the moment has come and raises his voice from Metropolis, ready to fight against Superman.
Superman, your time is up.
The weapon he had requested from Deathstroke is neutralized with the attack of the most powerful mortal, who, unknowingly, had sentenced Lex to die.
I gave you peace, your peace.
It's a joke.
Superman is victim to hundreds of voices in his head, and he speeds off to scream into the air. Billy watches him from afar as he questions whether he has been working on the wrong side all this time. As the regime members discuss today's humiliating defeat, an angry Superman declares that he will destroy Gotham and Metropolis, as an example to those who dare to question his mandate. He even threatens to destroy the reality of the imposters who have been interfering in aid of the Insurgency.
Wait, are we now going to raise entire cities, invade worlds in other dimensions? Any problems, Billy?
Shazam is the only one with the courage to contradict Kal-El, although he had no idea that these words would be the last of his life. None of those present, neither colleagues nor friends, even attempted to try to save him. His death was not entirely in vain. Barry Allen finally opens his eyes, deserting this group led by a ruthless killer. Although Hal tries to stop him to save his life, Flash is convinced that this is not the right way. Sinestro was at this moment gathering the elite forces of the regime when his beautiful speech was interrupted by the fastest man alive.
Desertion. Flash, bad timing, don't you think? You're right. I should have done it sooner.
The Yellow Lantern is defeated and imprisoned by Flash. He then goes to look for Batman to join his insurgency. He gets a surprise when he runs into Oliver, who doesn't receive him in a very good way, because...
Please, Ollie, do you know you can't give me?
Even so, Barry has the opportunity to convince the Archer that they are now on the same team. The Insurgency is informed about the upcoming destruction of Gozami Metropolis. The only chance they had with the weapon that Deathstroke stole had failed. In Luthor's sacrifice, the Batman of this Earth considered the war lost, while the others suggested that bringing the Superman from their world could be the answer to victory.
One Superman in this world is enough.
He's not like yours. Don't let emotions cloud your judgment.
They are surprisingly attacked by the regime's forces. In the midst of the conflict, Wonder Woman is transported to the island of Themyscira by Ares himself. The goal of the god of war was to inform her that the island's army was being prepared to attack, and perhaps she could dissuade them from carrying out this order.
The enemy of my enemy.
Our interests align, but we will never be friends.
Temporarily.
The army followed the orders of this toxic Wonder Woman without hesitation. When, right in the middle of the formation, our powerful Amazon warrior declares combat against this unbearable woman.
Stains, the honor of the Amazons. The Amazons must be weak-willed if you are their queen.
Diana, prince of the Insurgency, defeats her counterpart by humiliating her in front of the women of the island, although the Amazons were also willing to face the impostor. Hippolyta's daughter reminds them that even though she belongs to another world, she is still one of them. A warrior who would never forget her values, her goals, nor those of her sisters.
We are Amazons. Our duty is to save humanity.
Metropolis had become the stage for a battle of epic proportions. The insurgency against the regime was unleashing its destructive power at all levels. Batman was talking to Batman about sending everyone back to their world. And with the kryptonite weapon destroyed, he couldn't see a way to end this war. Batman, however, remained insistent on bringing in the Kryptonian to put an end to this once and for all. Batman tries to stop it due to the fear of unleashing another potential threat to Earth, so Batman has no other choice but to fight against Batman.
If we're done, we're wasting time. You have no idea how to use it, do you? Did you think it would go unnoticed?
Batman manages to stay on his feet and after all convinces Batman to transport the powerful Man of Steel to this world. With no more time to lose and the lives of innocent citizens at risk, Superman heads to Metropolis to stop the regime's forces. Characters like The Rock and Sinister prove to be unworthy opponents for the Man of Steel. And realizing this and showing impressive cowardice, Hal Jordan surrenders before the fight. The Atlantean forces also encounter obstacles along the way. The imposing Kryptonian blocks the path of the King of the Seas and, together with the powerful Amazonian warriors, they force them to retreat after a short battle. One of Superman's worst enemies also makes an appearance in the Metropolis conflict. Doomsday, under the control of the regime, becomes a strong threat to Kal-El. This fight unfolds in the Fortress of Solitude and, after all, this creature ends up being sent to the Phantom Zone. The mastermind behind the war inevitably revealed himself. Very soon, our Superman realizes that his counterpart is completely unhinged, believing himself to be a god on Earth and promising the resurgence of order after severe destruction.
When she sees how I've perfected this world, she would be terrified and horrified. She would be alive.
The death of Eloy.
Does not justify. You know that she is mine.
Stole from me?
And did you steal from this planet, Zulio? A final battle proclaims the end of the regime on Earth. The leader has fallen in his own fortress. The Justice League's arrival informs him that his allies have also been arrested in Metropolis.
Will you have to kill me? No, not even you. Many have already died.
Those who were once on his side have been imprisoned and some of them handed over to their superiors. The sacrifice of those who died with the ideal that the world had the right to be free is remembered with honor. And although the dream of a better future was in the mind of every human being, the sad reality is that this had not yet come to an end. And so in this way, this is how the story ends. I remind you that if you want to support the channel, you can use my Nega Yu-Gi-Oh code at the bottom in the Epic Store. And many thanks to those who take the trouble to write to me on Instagram or Discord to send me photos of their purchases. I am quite grateful to be able to count on all of you. Tell me in the comments what other story would you like to see here soon. And if you like my content, it wouldn't be bad if you subscribed and turned on notifications. So well, for now I have nothing else to say. Total thanks for having passed by here. My name is Alex for the NEGAYO channel.